Everything about what is the church has been thrown up into the air. So church as a community had set ways of doing things. And in the past 2 weeks, all of it is different. How do we do leadership? Up in the air. How about we have staff? What are their roles? Should those be rethought of? All up in the air. What about worship? You've had a set way of doing that? All up in the air. How about reaching out and care for and pray for the people in this community? Find out what they need. All up in the air. Everything about the church is all up in the air. Of course, the powerful thing about it is it's happening in the specificity of the Congregational Church of Boothbay Harbor. It's happening in every other religious institution in the world. So I came home yesterday and I called a friend and I just commented on this. I said, I'm really curious about what's going on with me. Why am I feeling so stressed, anxious? And he referred me to this article that he just read, the title of which is something like, "You're feeling the way you do because it's grief." Grief. I am in like the grief profession. I have talked to the church about we have to make a space and time and all of this for this tremendous, overwhelming amount of grief that we're going to walk through during this time. But I am like the last person in the world that can recognize what grief shows up and feels like in me. And it's not something, of course, that any of us can put our finger on, like this person died or I'm missing this. It's the present of it. It's the anticipatory grief. We have to be able to give ourselves to grief to find our way through. This is going to be with us for a long time. It is changing our lives from what we were to we don't even know on the other side. How do we find different tools to make it through this time when our old familiar tools aren't helping, aren't working? We need a different paddle in that way. We can't control it. There's certain things we can control, of course, and that's really important to remember. We can't control with physical distancing. We can't control keeping others safe and so forth, but there's that. The acceptance is, I think, a hard one for us because we always want to think our way around it. Our vulnerability, our insecurity, our need, and our mortality. Huge things to accept, but to really see our way through this time, we have to accept those things. We have to let those things work on us. And reckoning, I don't know, I immediately feel sad saying that word. I think it is a time for all of us of reckoning. And I usually think about that individually, but I think about us as a people, as a species, the way that we believed the world worked and our kind of being above nature or better than nature or able to control nature or able to plan our way into these plans that were always going to happen and to come to a reckoning. Really, it's a time of confession at its best. All that I believed in, was a false god in that way. What I depended on for security or the way it was going to be. So the reckoning is there is new life on the other side, but we got to let go of the old life, that so many pieces of ways of being in the old life that was, so we could live into it. That's the reckoning.